Hey again everyone, it's week 19 of What Happened on My Universe Mode! And as always, we start with Raw, which took place in Chicago, Illinois. We began with a match between the World Heavyweight Champion Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt. And what a way to start the week on Universe Mode, as the two rivals went at it hammer and tongs. The match was relatively even the entire match, both men not letting up for a second, up until Bray Wyatt hit his corner hug. Once Daniel Bryan went down, Bray Wyatt picked him up and hit Sister Abigail to take the victory. After the match, Bray Wyatt wanted a handshake, but Daniel Bryan didn't, so he slapped his hand away. It was Raw debut time next, as Paige, who believe it or not has not appeared yet, took on Brie Bella, but before the match, Paige decided, I'm going to go kick her ass now. Went to the ring, hit a neck breaker, a Northern Light suplex and clotheslined her down. And the referee decided we'd better not have this match and held her back. No contest. Following that, we had the Tag Team Champions out, as Luke Harper was taking on Curtis Axel with Eric Rowan at ringside. But Curtis Axel wasn't going to let Eric Rowan get in his way or distract him, as he went about his business, hitting quite a few moves on Luke Harper. Unfortunately for him, Luke Harper got the advantage eventually and threw him out to go play with Eric Rowan. Unfortunately for Curtis Axel, once back in the ring, he fell prey to a massive back suplex from Luke Harper and then a massive clothesline, which finished him for the 1-2-3. In another entry to their feud, Ryback took on Seth Rollins once again. And, much like last week, it was an epic encounter. While it was Seth Rollins who had the early control, the advantage was traded back and forth throughout the match. Halfway through though, Ryback took Seth to Powerbomb City. Handily for Seth Rollins though, the Money in the Bank winner had his own type of powerbomb that he could use, a buckle bomb. Again, the advantages were traded, but once Seth Rollins hit the schoolboy super kick that he won with last week, it was pedigree time, and then it was victory time for Seth Rollins. It was time for Raw's main event, which was Dean Ambrose, who was wearing his belt a bit funny this week, against Randy Orton. The match had barely begun when Randy Orton threw Dean Ambrose outside of the ring, and then started to hit moves, but eventually Dean Ambrose would reverse, hit a Michinoku driver. Back in the ring, Randy Orton would get the advantage back again, and so on, until Dean Ambrose would rebound off the ropes, hit his clothesline, and hit the Dirty Deeds DDT for the victory. But after the match, Brock Lesnar had a message. He wanted that US title. On to the second show of the week, and in San Diego, California was main event. We opened with the new WWF champion, The Undertaker, taking on the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Just in a match. And while this was just a match, it was still a tough test for the new champion. Ric Flair hitting some decent moves in the early going. Then The Undertaker hit old school. A chokeslam and a tombstone to keep Ric Flair down for the 3 count. The dead man hadn't even had a chance to celebrate when the former champion, Triple H, came out and pretty much said he wanted a rematch. Next up was Ricky Steamboat, and he took on The Rock. He was accompanied by Farouk, his teammate at the recent Bash at the Beach pay-per-view special. And while Ricky the Dragon Steamboat hit a couple of moves at the start, The Rock showed he can do those moves better and snapped on a shit shooter. You know, The Rock's version of the sharpshooter. A Samoan drop from the top rope, and then a spinebuster allowed The Rock to run over and hit the People's Elbow. Following that, he slammed on a rock bottom and picked up an easy win over the Dragon. Now, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, took on the man who eliminated him from the Battle Royal at the Bash at the Beach, Andre the Giant. But Andre eliminated him once again, throwing him over the top rope and then destroying him on the outside. Back on the inside after a butt bump, Macho Man decided on getting a little bit of advantage and started striking him down. He could only keep Andre down for so long, and after a back body drop, Andre hit a butterfly suplex and was victorious. In main event's penultimate match, World Tag Team Champions Sting and the Ultimate Warrior took on the militia pairing of Colonel Mustafa and General Adnan. But Colonel Mustafa didn't really have much to do, as General Adnan took the duties in the ring of getting beaten up. After hitting a nice Samoan drop double team move, Sting finally put Adnan out of his misery, allowing him to tap out to the Scorpion Deathlock. Another win for the World Tag Team Champions. It was time for main events! Main event! And Stone Cold Steve Austin, the new European champion, took on the former champion Booker T in a non-title match. Booker T attempted to gain the upper hand by throwing Stone Cold out the ring and hitting a stroke, but back in the ring, Stone Cold was back on the offense with a DDT and an elbow drop. Those moves couldn't keep Booker T down, and he went back on the offense himself, eventually hitting a spinebuster, which could have won in the match. It didn't though. A Lou Thesz press and a Stone Cold Stunner would show that Stone Cold Steve Austin would be the one winning the match. 1, 2, 3. The future was in Los Angeles, California, as NXT was tying up some loose ends from back in 2K15. Raw superstar Neville came out a couple of weeks ago to confront Tyson Kidd after a match on NXT. Now we finally have the resulting epic match. Both men gave everything they had in this match, and despite Tyson Kidd hitting this sweet back suplex onto the apron, Adrian Neville was taking the full advantage going to the end of the match. He clotheslined into the outside and hit a cool flippy move, but back in the ring, Tyson Kidd quickly wore him down with a submission hold. The Heartlock, I believe it's called. He didn't tap out, but once he did get up, he hit a spinning fisherman suplex for the win. NXT's second match was between Bo Dallas and NXT debutant Tyler Breeze, and Prince Pretty did not let up at the start, hitting some big kicks. Bo Dallas gave him a mid-season break, but once this neck break was hit, Tyler Breeze got back up, Michinoku drivered him, and then hit the beauty shot for the victory. Afterwards, he posed with his selfie stick. We had another debutant next as D'Lo Brown took on Connor of the Ascension, who was out on his own tonight because of another loose end tying up later in the show. D'Lo Brown missed a moonsault which allowed Connor to get the advantage with a big punch and then slammed the shit out of him. Despite eating this massive manoeuvre, D'Lo Brown was out to impress, and he hit a Shining Wizard, following that with a powerbomb and the low down frog splash for the victory. 1, 2, 3, and D'Lo is another debutant winner. We were now tying up the other loose end as Rusev teamed with Victor from the Ascension to take on R-Truth and Xavier Woods, who they attacked on week 17 for no reason, and it was really weird. The match started with Victor and Rusev getting advantage. Xavier tried to get back into it, but Rusev kneed him in the face and allowed Victor to hit that. Then Monty Fisto happened, and Xavier Woods was back in charge. Truth and Woods then hit some double team action, kicking him to the back, which gave R-Truth the chance to hit an Osaka streetcar, then went to the top rope and suplexed Victor to the outside, just to make sure he's never going to kick out of anything. Woods hit a super kick to keep him down, and they won. Revenge! Hooray! NXT champion Finn Balor was in action for the main event as he took on Fandango. Or he beat up Fandango, because Fandango didn't do anything in the match. He just ate a lot of moves. Sunday Bloody Sunday, a knee to the face, and then the coup de grace to finish him off. That was it. Go Finn Balor. As always, we end the week with Smackdown, and we were back in San Diego, California for it. We open with Bad News Barrett taking on Mark Henry in another continuation of their feud. After some early Mark Henry pressure, Bad News Barrett got the advantage with punches and kicks. He kneed into the head and then hit a neck breaker. But after that, Mark Henry headed to the outside and took control, first throwing him into the steps, then powerbombing him onto the steps, and then started a trifecta of slams, first on the outside, then one in the ring, which he then followed with a headbutt, and then hit the world's strongest slam for the hat trick, and the win. Tag team action next as the Prime Time Players took on Heath Slater and Zack Ryder. Darren Young made the mistake of going for Zack Ryder to start with, who pulled the rope down, and Darren Young fell out the ring. They double teamed Darren Young on the outside, and then once back in, Heath Slater got a couple of shots in, but then Darren Young got the advantage back, and the Job Squad did what they were supposed to do. Job. Some double teamness, and then Darren Young's big gutbuster finisher, and the match was over. PTP victorious on 2K16. Now, making their debuts X-Pac and Ken Shamrock in a Falls Count Anywhere match, and the winner gets a shot at the Intercontinental title, or Ken Shamrock gets a shot at the Intercontinental title because he snapped pretty early and didn't let X-Pac get any sort of advantage. Shamrock decimated X-Pac, spearing him through the barricade, hitting him with steps, and then hitting a belly to belly on the outside before locking in a leg lock to make him tap out. So Ken Shamrock will take on Dolph Ziggler next week for the Intercontinental title. In the Smackdown semi-final match, Cesaro and Big E continued their feud with another one-on-one matchup. What we had in this match was yet another even contest between the two men. Once on the outside, Cesaro hit a huge move before coming back in and hitting a huge German suplex, but it wasn't enough and Big E was back in charge eventually. After this splash, the big turning point in the match happened when Big E pulled off the corner pad. After Cesaro hit a European uppercut and didn't win after the pin, Big E threw him into that exposed turnbuckle and then hit the big ending for the win via cheating. Naughty Big E. This leads us to the Big Show versus Kofi Kingston in our last match of the week and the Smackdown main event. Big Show, as usual, started off strong, hitting a gigantic backbreaker followed by a sidewalk slam. Kofi, though, he wasn't to be outdone and slapped Big Show into the corner. He then threw him to the outside and hit a Russian leg sweep, but then got final cutted and alley-ooped onto the steel steps. On the way back in, Kofi brought in a sledgehammer. Unluckily for Kingston, when he did try and use it, the Big Show saw it coming and then threw him up in the air for a massive knockout punch. And so despite some shenanigans, the Big Show ended the week with a win. A few questions from the week. Why did Bray Wyatt think that Daniel Bryan would want to shake his hand? Why is Paige so angry? Why is Brock Lesnar now going for the US title? When will Triple H get his title rematch? And why is there still no cutscenes on SmackDown? Find out all this and more on What Happened on My Universe Mode. Like and subscribe.